You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Rhadi. I been really struggling with this particular topic that I want to share with you today, and I had an opportunity to converse with one of my former teammates from Howard University this morning by the name of Gerald Hector. And Gerald just wrote an outstanding book about our coach, God rest his soul, that coached us in track and field at Howard University, Coach William P. Moultrie, and the impact that he had on his life. And then the title of the book is quit making things difficult. Quit making things difficult. It's easy, son. Quit making things difficult. And he's really going through right now because he's doing a hard marketing push and he's speaking a lot and things are picking up in his job. And I understand. I personally moved from one dojo to another location, and the grind for excellence becomes constant. And you're trying to find this space and place of how do I find balance while I'm operating inside of my purpose. And I told him that the operating inside of your purpose doesn't require balance. Operating inside of your purpose requires obedience. And what you need are those people who are around you who understand that you're operating inside of your purpose. Therefore, because of your obedience, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that provides you with the spiritual and emotional balance within the thing that you are doing. The problem comes when you're around people, or sometimes coupled with a person who doesn't understand that you're operating in their purpose and they haven't fully accepted what their purpose in your life is. When you go around some individuals, you need to ask yourself what your purpose is in their life, and vice versa, what their purpose is in yours. A lot of times we look at our coupling and our situation and we ask ourselves, what has so-and-so done for me lately? Or we use cliches that aren't biblical that says, I can do bad by myself. I don't need no help from you, which was a lyric from a song from a while ago. Not understanding that the thing actually says that it's more blessed to give than to receive. That doesn't mean that there isn't any blessing in the reception of things or the receiving of some things, but the blessing comes from the giving of the thing. So when somebody else is pursuing their particular purpose, you need to understand what your individual purpose is, and hope that there's a season where the coupling of the two purposes are in line, because sometimes, man, your job is to get in line with helping somebody pursue their purpose. And that is when you have to remove your ego from the situation. And that is what I have seen. I'm talking to you from the experience of somebody who has been married for 17 years and who went through a divorce. And I can tell you from on the outside, as I see people who are going through tough spots in their relationships, they get this point where everybody believes that they're supposed to be the quarterback. It can't happen. Can't. There's usually one ball, man. Somebody has to run, somebody got to block, somebody got to throw it, somebody has to catch, and two people can't score at the same time, but the team wins in the end. And when you start getting involved in how many yards that you have, or how many catches that you have, or you don't see your name on the big screen, then you lose sight of the benefit of coupling and creating a team. You don't understand that two are better than one because they have good reward for their labor. And then you stop operating in your purpose in the purpose of creating the team in order to move forward. And then you're alone, and you will feel great. Because if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. If you want to go far, you go with someone. Your purpose in life will always be in line with the coupling of somebody or someone else or some other group. It will always exist like that. It may require you to leave a certain group or leave a certain person, or leave a certain area, but it's always going to be a coupling, because two are better than one because they have good reward for their labor. If you are already coupled with somebody by way of a covenant, okay, by way of an agreement, then what you all have to understand is what the overall purpose is and what the small purposes are on the timeline. Because it may be, if John and Sally are together, it might be John's time for 7 years and it might be Sally's time for 2, or vice versa. Because I tell people relationships aren't 50-50. So for you to go and say relationships are 50-50, no, relationships aren't 50-50. Relationships are 100, period. And you might have 90 and the other person might have 10, and it might be like that the whole time. You might be in a situation with somebody where somebody has a bunch of strengths, and what you need right now in the business situation caters to that person's strengths. But it might be one thing 3, 4, 5 years down the line, which is a small linchpin for the whole thing to move forward, that the other person has. And if you reduce what the other person brings to the table, you're going to miss that particular linchpin situation to take you to the next level. Purpose and patience. Purpose and patience. There's no balancing act within the purpose. The purpose requires enthusiasm. The purpose requires for you to understand, as my business partner, Coach Arlo, says, for you to understand that sacrifice is a farce. There is no sacrifice. When you're operating inside your purpose, you're really not making a sacrifice. You're just doing what you're supposed to do because you are operating within your purpose. It's not a sacrifice, not for you. Now, other people on the periphery who have not agreed or accepted your purpose will look at getting behind your purpose as a sacrifice. So there are people say, I sacrificed a part of my life to, no, I didn't. I'll tell you this. I'm 100% divorced now. I didn't sacrifice a part of my life in my marriage. I gave my life to the marriage. The marriage moved forward. People inside the marriage did well. The children flourished, and I didn't make zero sacrifice. I did what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to be married. I was married, gave into the marriage, did not make any sacrifice. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I went to the Olympics. I got up in the morning. I trained. I didn't make any sacrifices. The people on the outside who felt like they did not operate within the purpose that I had or I wanted to, they would have felt like they sacrificed. If you feel like you're sacrificing, you're not operating inside of your purpose. You either, one, need to sit down, fast, pray, meditate, and get some mental, spiritual, and emotional clarity, or go to counseling and get some clarity on your purpose, on your goals and your vision, or you need to remove yourself because you're not in line with your purpose. Very simple. Very, very simple. I can tell you right now, if you're trying to create some type of balancing act, thus making everybody happy when you're trying to operate inside your purpose, you are actually being disobedient because your purpose does not have anything to do with everybody's happiness. Your purpose has to do with obedience. That's why you understand that over a period of time that obedience trumps sacrifice. It does. Because here's what happens. You have to make a sacrifice because you weren't obedient. But if you are obedient, you don't have to go back and make a sacrifice. Man, don't make me, listen, I don't want to jump into it that deep because I'm going to lose some of y'all. That's why it says obedience is better than sacrifice. When you're not obedient, you got to go back and make a sacrifice, because you got to go back and make a sacrifice because you didn't operate within the purpose. If you're operating in the purpose and you're obedient, just get in line with the purpose. Sit down, find out what your particular purpose is. Your purpose does not require a balancing act. It doesn't. Once you understand what your total purpose is and what you're supposed to do, it doesn't require a balancing act. Your job if you're a dad like me, your job is to make sure that your children are covered. If you are a dad and a husband, your job is to make sure that your wife is covered and that your children are covered. That's your job. Your job is also to make sure that you pass down wealth to your children and that you pass down wealth so that your children's children have wealth. So in order for you to do that, you got to work. How you know? Man, the book said that a man who don't work shouldn't eat. Well, if I can't eat, then my kids can't eat, because if I can't eat, I'm not nourishing myself and then for them to eat. It's just like it says on the airplane, put the mask on yourself before your children. I can't deny myself oxygen and then give them oxygen. So I have to make sure I eat so that they can eat. So things become very, very simple in terms of order. What happens is, and from what I've seen in my personal life and what I see for looking out at people in the world, is people have done things or are doing things out of order or want to create their own order or their own rules when they go along. And if you and I sit down and we play a game, call it game life, if we play the game and we make up our own rules as we go along, people are going to start butting heads because people aren't going to agree. You can't play a football game. You can't play soccer without a common rule book. You can call the rule book what you want. You can call the rule book archaic. You can call the rule book patriarchal. You can call the rule book matriarchal. You can call the rule book racist. You can call the rule book biased. You can call the rule book whatever you want to call the rule book. I tell you what, the rule book doesn't care. What you do need to agree on is you and the person that you're dealing with. If it's in business or if it's in life or if it's in a relationship, you guys need to sit down and come up with a rule book. I don't care. You guys can even, if you'd like, if you're that silly, you can even write down your own rules if you like. Write down your own rules. But you got to come up with a rule book, because if you don't come up with a rule book, you're going to end up with a lot of, mistakes, accidents, misunderstandings, and there's already enough of those particular things. But there has to be some type of rule book, because the relationship or the relationships that you're in, the main one and the ones on the periphery, the ones where people are pulling at you for balance, those people need to understand what your purpose is. And they don't understand what your purpose is. They don't understand the book or the rule book that you're operating from. If they understand the rule book that you're operating from and the framework from which you exist and how you move, it's very easy for them to understand if they want to get in line with your purpose or if they do not. And that's just it, because your purpose is like a car. Your purpose requires drive, because you have to be driven in order for you to operate inside of your purpose. It's just not a magical thing. And then your purpose needs gas. It needs people on the outside pumping into you through exhortation and helping you and encouraging you so that you can keep moving forward. Your purpose also requires some maintenance. Sometimes you need emotional maintenance. You need to sit on somebody's couch, make a phone call, be with some friends. It requires maintenance. It does. And then you got to also understand that your purpose also requires some passengers. You need some people who are going to help you, who are going to help you navigate some of the difficult roads that you have. But the most difficult thing that I've ever seen people understand is that your purpose has one steering wheel in it. And the problem that I've seen is that everybody in the car that you have who are close to you, they try to pull on the steering wheel when you're inside of your purpose, because they feel that they want to drive now, not understanding that they're supposed to navigate now. When we finish getting where we're going, I get out, I'll get in the passenger seat, you can drive, I'll help you navigate, and we can continue to go. If your vision is short-sighted and you don't understand that your purpose sometimes requires you to drive and sometimes requires you to ride, you will never fully reach your spiritually intended destination, but you will feel like you have reached where you're supposed to be because it's where you wanted to get out. Jesus, you're going to miss that whole thing. You'll feel personally like you went where you were supposed to go because it's where you got out. but you limited the total value of your whole trip or your experience because you wanted to drive or you didn't want to ride. Your purpose requires a lot of patience. And if you choose to have friendships and if you choose to couple yourself with certain people, you need to understand that there's a overarching purpose. And then each person in that relationship has a purpose. And both purposes, they can go on at the same time, but both can't lead at the same time because there's only one steering wheel. There's only so much time. There's only one ball on the field and everybody can't score. Your purpose is yours. The people who you're around have their own purpose too. There will be a time when you're supposed to fully fulfill yours, and there will be a time when you're supposed to help other people fulfill theirs. Don't get so involved in your ego, easing God out, that you can't help somebody fulfill their purpose. Because helping them fulfill their purpose may be part of the journey of helping you fulfill yours. This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson. Have a super fantastic day, and I love you. God loves you best.